question for you guys. Are samurai mass murderers, genocide mongers, atrocity keepers? Are they, you know, these people that we in the West sort of value and say they were great war leaders? Are they actually the opposite? And should they be along the likes of Stalin and Hitler and people like that? Now, I'm going to explain this to you now. But basically, if you want to follow me, please get a copy of the Book of Bushido. It's out now and it's on the shelves. And we do talk about this slightly. I wanted to say a few things first before I kick off. And one is that I'm actually writing another book. If you keep up to date with me, one of my books was cancelled because it was too powerful, it was too much, and it included a lot of this information, so I'm finding a new publisher for it. The second thing is, this video has been done in help to support Nick's video. So Nick the Shogunate, he did a video on this and it's called the Sengoku Death Toll video. I'll link it here and here it is on screen. And basically he has done an awesome job with the numbers. So, and I'll explain how this topic has come about. Basically myself, Nick and Scott from Sengoku Period Studies, who's also another YouTube channel, we were discussing on Nick's Discord channel about the deaths in the Sengoku period. This is probably about a year ago, and Nick has done an awesome job of going through all this, that and the other. He's got numbers coming out of here and he's explained where the numbers are from, and I'm genuinely like, oh, nice, Nick, because that is a ridiculously difficult thing to find. How many people died because of samurai actions? How many? Now, Nick comes up with the numbers for what is the Sengoku period, but we'll talk about that in a minute, for between 1 and 2 million of both civilian and military dead on Japanese soil, approximately 1 million, and then nearly 800,000 for military. So let's just round it up to sort of around between 1 and 2 million, or 1.5 million in total, somewhere around there. And of course he says the numbers might be wrong, they might not be. It turns out to be 14% of the Japanese population over a length of time, which is not ridiculous for a period of mass wars. So first of all, we have to discuss when is the Sengoku period. This one is difficult because Nick goes from the end of the Onin War, I believe, to I can't remember if he included Shimabara. So I don't remember if he included that, which I think he should include that. Because that was pretty much from there to there is when they were consolidating the Japan. Now this is a problem because we give this date and this date is the Sengoku period. And that's not against Nick, that's against general historians who's like this and this. But the question is not that. The question is, because of samurai warmongering and power grabbing, what was the effect of this? For the dates, then you have to decide where are the dates. Me personally, I would put it all the way. You could do the total thing, the first proto-samurai up to Tokugawa and the Boshin War and everything, and let's just, how many people died? Or we could go, Nick has done from Onin War to Sengoku period end, which I think he didn't include Osaka and Shimabara, but I must admit, he was throwing numbers at me at speed, and I was like, I gave up after about a minute and a half of trying to keep the numbers going. So, for me, I would say, from back at the time of Yoshitsune and all that, all the way up to probably Shimabara, the rebellion, where I think 30,000 people died, roughly, is about where you're talking of, like, to answer the question. Remember, the question is this, is we think the samurai are great. You're like, oh, we're all following the samurai from the samurai enthusiast community. But actually, should we be sort of putting them alongside Adolf Hitler? Now, the main thing is Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, and all these people, they were mechanized warfare. So you're never going to match them in numbers. But there's also a theory within history is whether something is emotionally strong enough that it doesn't matter how many numbers there are. So let's take, for example, Harold Shipman. Now, if you don't know who Harold Shipman is, he was a mass murderer in the late 20th century, a British doctor who was injecting his patients and killing them, and his patient toll was getting so high of deaths that somebody investigated him. Turns out he was just murdering people. Now, that's only 250 people, but if you say today, in our world, in Britain, Harold Shipman, in England, where I live, or where I am, you know, where I'm from, sorry, I actually live in Wales now. But if you say Harold Shipman, oh, bloody hell, and everybody's scared of their doctors and everything. Now you imagine 250 people. You imagine 1.5 million. All right, even though that's over 300 or 400 years, let's just imagine 50,000 people, 100,000 people suddenly die. Now, the people have gone mad for COVID. COVID's killed this many people. And then other government branches saying, well, it's not, it's only killed this many people. You've allotted COVID to the wrong one. But everybody's screaming about COVID. So my point is when samurai are going out to war, Tokugawa Ieyasu, Hideyoshi, Nobunaga, you know, all of these people were like, oh, the greatest leaders in samurai, you know, history. Who are they? You know, we say Oda Nobunaga went from here to here by pretty much murdering everyone. Do you know what I mean? It's maybe too much to say they're Adolf Hitlers. Let's not say they're that. They're not going like, let's genocide to this lot and let's pick only gypsies and have a go at that. They're not saying that. They're literally empire builders. So we have to be careful here between the distinction of empire builders, which is absolutely a part of our history. Empire, you know, the British Empire. You say that today and people will shoot arrows at you. But you say like the Mongolian Empire and people, oh, that was amazing. No, it was pretty horrific. It's like any empire building is totally horrific. This idea that, you know, Genghis Khan sat on his horse nobly and was like, I shall murder these Chinese people and it shall be good. You know what I mean? It's never good, is it? So let's go back to being a human. So you live in your house, you're a human, and we're all humans. Tokugawa Ieyasu, Miyamoto Musashi, all of those people are just humans. They're just normal people who have done extraordinary things. They're not like got 4 arms, they've got super brain powers or anything like that. They're just normal people who are good at strategy, or Alexander the Great pushed himself, who's like an extremely strong character. So you could, as a human, sit at home, farm, do some dirty work, grow some veg, hunt in the wild, and eat your food. And we all live with our own little farms. That's pretty much not existed since the Neolithic, okay? The Neolithic is when we invented, like, farms, and then people were like, well, I'll have your farm. Why? I'll just kill you for it, you know, and they'll start killing it. So, tribal disputes. And that is no different to Japan. It's literally from the Neolithic to now, Japan has done the same thing. They just literally headhunting cultures after, you know, other people. So, Tokugawa Ieyasu, Toyotomi Hideyoshi could have been happy with their domain. They could have been happy. Oda Nobunaga could have been happy. They, in fact, if you put it in context, Oda Nobunaga had servants, had slaves, had warriors to follow him. They could have just farmed the fields and been totally happy. But he's not. He's like, I'm going to own the country. Who did the same as that? Oh, I'm going to own their known world. Who did the same as that? Adolf Hitler. Get to Toyotomi Hideyoshi is like, right, I own all of this. Let's say Europe. It's Japan. Let's invade India. You know, he's like, let's go to India. And he's like, right, let's kill the Koreans. Let's do over the Chinese and I'll sit on the Indian throne. Whether he wanted to actually go to India or not is debated. And if you want to know more about that, you want to be following Japan at War and his Imjin series. And of course, Nick with his Sengoku period series, which he needs no promotion from me, but do go and see them. And so you want to ask them too. They know far more than me about this. But basically, you've got Toyotomi Hideyoshi is like, go to Korea and murder everyone. I want to grab the land. Some people might be saying it's because there's land problems in Japan. You know, like we don't have enough land. That would take a real long scholarly debate on what was the, you know, how far agriculture had been stretched on the plains of Japan versus the land grabbing they needed. Or was he just like, let's go murder everyone over there and take their land because we want some more land? You know what I mean? That maybe Japan at War could do, or Nick could do a video on that. So the question is right back to us. Let's scrape it back to, should we or should we not, and I want you guys to discuss in the comments below, be putting a lot of emphasis on the greatness of the 3 unifiers, Toyotomi, Tokugawa and Nobunaga. Yeah, you know, they're not in order, by the way. Should we be putting our emphasis on them? Or should we be toning it down and saying, yes, they were great military strategists, but let's be honest, they were the result of possibly millions of people died. Now, I say millions because what Nick talked about in his video was the fact that he doesn't know, and nobody knows, the exact casualty rates for the Koreans, whether it's military or civilian. Now, again, the best person for this is Stefan from Japan at War. He's going to know this the most. He's got a detailed series on the Imjin War. It's called the Imjin War, by the way. So the question becomes is, Toyotomi Hideyoshi possibly alone orders the death of 1 million people, maybe 2 million, we just don't know. If not 500,000 people, or, you know, whatever we come to. Across that time period, there was 1.7 million people died through civilian and military deaths. And according to Nick's calculations, which are probably quite accurate, to be honest, for a YouTube video, that's very accurate, I think. But what we don't know is Hideyoshi going over to Korea, how many killed. He could be killing, we could be talking 1 million people die because he says so. Or again, 200,000 people die, 400,000 people. My point being is, if Harold Shipman can kill 250 and nobody liked Harold Shipman, how can Toyotomi Hideyoshi kill hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million or more, and everybody's like, what a great guy. What a special lad. I'd like to have a beer with Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Come on, guys, let's put a reality check on it. There are dictators in Africa, and again, in my other book, which I'll go through, I'll do another video on this when I get that book published, and I'll go through, I've done numbers of dictators and everything, and to be honest, when you slot Toyotomi Hideyoshi and the samurai and the rest of them in there, they're not as high as that because we're talking mechanized warfare and machine guns and everything. But, you know, Pol Pot, you are not, they're not far off the list of, like, you killed a lot of people. Like Elizabeth Bathory, yeah? She is considered as the classic vampire image, killed 600 women, blah, blah, blah. You know, a horror. Nobody was like, you know, she's a wonderful lady, isn't she? But for some reason, when you bang them as Japanese and you bang some samurai armour on them, everybody thinks they're wonderful. No matter how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people die, because one chap in his chair goes, you know, lads, I think we should take that land. Why, boss? Because. What should we do with the people there? Murder them all. Okay, boss, let's go. I mean, they're not going over there going like, should we just have tea and cake and we'll debate this? Now, of course, in military strategy, you want to keep the peasants alive. You want to kill the aristocracy. You want to keep the peasants alive. Look at the harrowing of the North in England by William the Conqueror and all that, when he come over and he take over England and they just take out the Anglo-Saxon aristocracy. That's why we speak bits of French. Mohon. In my perfect French, merci, voila, and the Eiffel Tower. Can you name what I've just quoted? I'll be well impressed if you can. So, we've got, you know, that's the same thing that happened. And of course, Toyotomi Hideyoshi is not outright evil, because I hate it when they do that as well. Adolf Hitler is evil. They put horns on him and little red eyes in, like, the DVD. And you're like, he was in part of the empire building. He did really horrific things. We all know that. But he didn't wake up in the morning with devil wings. He sort of like goes, he's gone and done something and been a horrific human. So the question we've got is, nobody values Adolf Hitler as an icon of sort of the way to expand in the modern age, because he was at the end of empire building. What I'm trying to say is, and again, I'm not defending Adolf Hitler by any means, but what I'm saying is, he fits into empire building. The Nazi regime was the last empire build, and it failed. And after that, it was about money. Who had the best economy? Before that, it was about who had the best army. The British are by no means free of this. The British are horrible. The English, lads, if you want to talk about people who can take over the world and sort of like with mechanized warfare and murder everyone, the probably English are the worst. Let's be honest. They had the greatest empire the world has ever known. As big as the Mongolian Empire, I think, and murdered probably more people. And we all hail the British Empire. I know society's changed, everybody's going back to that, but my point is Adolf Hitler is at the end of the empire building regime. He was the last to try it and failed, and therefore victors record the winnings, and therefore, you know, he's the evil guy. So when we all record samurai history, I don't think we should make them devilish, like this modern idea that everybody are either evil or good. They're real people who were like with power, and not only did they have power, they had tens of thousands of troops sometimes. Imagine if you stand there, right? Imagine if you had a dojo with 500 lads in it, and those 500 lads were actually the local police as well, and you could just do anything you want. How quickly would it all go awry? Now you imagine having 10,000 troops or 100,000 troops, like we're talking towards Sekigahara, when you're talking about people going over in the Imjin War. That's the massive problem. You've got one guy in control saying, let's go do that, and the rest of them going, yes, boss. And until he gets it wrong, so in samurai culture, normally, when he gets it wrong, he's overthrown normally, or somebody will slit his throat. There's plenty of examples of that. Again, please, book plug, go to the Book of Bushido. There's loads in there. So there we go, guys. So sorry about the dog snoring. Every time he comes in, he's just sat there snoring, and I know you guys can hear it. But anyway, I'm going to call it there. So the last final message I'm going to leave it with is this: should we temper just even slightly our love of the samurai with the knowledge that because of their greed, and only greed, they didn't sit down in their farms and just stop, because of their greed and empire building, which the world was totally in the empire building stages then. You're not far off. Elizabeth I starts the British Empire, and then that exceeds into the 18th, 19th century. Yeah, and they start building that way. And of course, before the Japanese, you've got the Mongolian Empire. So what we should do is, should we temper slightly our love of these great samurai leaders and remember that their decisions resulted in the mass slaughter of real humans, be it through disease, killing, murder, you know, indirect things, anything like that. What do you think, guys? I'll leave it to you below. Please do comment on Nick's video and go over to Japan at War and follow his Imjin series. Let me know what you think, guys, because I might be wrong. Should we just say, no, these are praised as great tacticians? What's the debate going on? I don't want to... What I want to do, as always, is not make you hate the samurai, but come at them with a bit less of a wind in the hair, peaceful warrior, you know, Zen flute in the background. Let's look at them as real humans doing real human things. So there you go. Right, guys, my name's Anthony Cummins. I hope you enjoyed this. A massive thank you for Nick for putting my face on his video. It's always lovely to see myself getting out there doing different things. I'm glad this topic has gone up, and I'm hoping, and of course in the background, let's thank Sengoku Period Studies, their YouTube channel, for helping out as well, and the Discord for Nick. And if you want to go on Nick's Discord, you can do it through his channel. Right, guys, see you later. Oh, doggo woke. Look at that. End of video. You've bloody woke up. Look, woke up. He was bloody having a snore. That's Bolt, by the way. He's become my best pal. He's proper, really... I love this dog now. He's gone pretty good. Right, guys, see you later.